All right. This is another like kind of a bookshelf tour without the bookshelves. If you can see, let me point this up here. I have my books on the bottom shelf there, down here, down there are all my Nietzsche books. Not all of them, but mostly all of them. But it's all Nietzsche books or related to Nietzsche. Second book is analytic philosophy stuff, and this is also analytic philosophy stuff. But I have one shelf here, and then on top, there's also it's flat. I have some flashcards up there, uh, but I also put some books up there. And this is those two shelves are more miscellaneous stuff. Um, it, there's some philosophy books that are just like I picked up lately or that I'm using more frequently, so I have them. Anyway, so I thought I'd show you what's on there. I not really in any particular order, but I'll show you what I have. Uh, I have B.R. Myers, A Reader's Manifesto. I highly recommend this book if you're into literary criticism. Basically, he takes Don DeLillo, McCormack, um, who else? These other popular authors to task for their basically crappy writing. And I agree. I can't read their stuff. Um, let me put this. I'm reading as I say. I can't read this stuff. Amy Tan, The Joy Luck Club. Um, because a student of mine, as I tutor various subjects, she's reading this in high school, so I am rereading this, or I reread this, just to be fresh on what's happening between the daughters and the mothers, and yeah, just to help her with her essays and make sure she has a good understanding. Um, I really like essayists, literary criticism, social criticism, cultural criticism. And Simon Lay's, I forget his real name, but The Hall of Uselessness Collected Essays is one of my favorite collection of essays in a single book. Um, I highly recommend Simon Lay's. Uh, I don't remember what his real name is. I never care about these things. Um, one of my latest pickups, Introduction to Logic by Mr. Tarski himself. I'm on what I finished chapter one. Um, or sorry, I finished the obviously I finished the preface, not obviously, but I finished the preface. No, I did finish chapter one. I find that it's pretty what's the word I want to say? Um, let's say it's pretty clear, and if you were but it's hard for me to say whether this would be a good book for those who are self-learning, just brand new to logic, and they want to teach themselves logic. So for self-learners in logic, it's a little difficult for me to say because I am not a beginner in logic. I've taken a college course in logic. I've actually TA'd for a college course in logic, but and so it's hard for me when I read this because just when he says things, I understand what he's talking about. And I'm not sure I understand because he says things so clearly or because I already bring so much to the table with me that it's just clear when I read it. So, but it is good. It is good. It's a very clearly written text, and I want to recommend it with the possibility that it might not be as clear to you as it is to me, although I'm trying to yeah, I'm trying to take into consideration that I do come with, like, that's what she said, some background knowledge. Okay, that was crass. And a book that I have here is like a history of philosophy stuff. I'm not a big fan of this book. I thought I would like it a little bit more. I thought it would be a little bit different than what it is. But I decided to keep it. It's not like I'm going to return it. I tend not to return books to Amazon if I'm just dissatisfied and it was my fault why I'm dissatisfied, not because of the what was advertised. Right. So. philosophical movement. So we talk about like rationalist movement, the empiricist movement, the logicism movement. Let's call it the analytical movement, existentialism, Marxism. All these movements in philosophy. This book kind of covers it in a. I think like has to be in a superficial way, but the key thoughts, the key ideas are mentioned here. Yeah, I have this book. I think it's gonna be useful to me, but like it's not. It's not something I'm gonna read cover to cover. Uh, where I thought I might if I like really really enjoyed. Uh, yeah, the content more than, or at least like yeah, the content. Anyway, uh, another book. Oh wait, let me save this for all my Isaiah Berlin stuff. I put my Isaiah Berlin stuff here too. I have this book here. Understanding Poetry by Clent Brooks, Robert Penn Warren. Um, I have another book which I couldn't find that I wanted to find. Um, it's a really good introduction to poetry, how to understand poetry, how to read poetry. Oh, the author has a it's a famous, very famous author, and his son was also famous. It's escaping me right now, but hopefully it'll dawn on me. Oh, Van Doren. Does that ring a bell to you guys? Van Doren. Anyway, Van Doren has a very good introduction to poetry book. It's a small book, and he basically breaks breaks down several poems line for line or stanza by stanza, and yeah, he gives you a pretty good understanding of how to read poetry. But this is more like a textbook. But yeah, I have it. I won't go into this. I'm not going to review these books or anything. I have the ever popular The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. I don't have the 48 Laws of Power. Um, I want to get it. This is the hardback. I want to get it. I want to get the hardback to match this, but I don't want to spend a lot of money on it. So if Amazon ever has like a 50% sale off or the new one, or if I find a relatively good condition book on the cheap, it has to be on the cheap because I'm not in a hurry to read it. It's just going to be on my shelf next to this one, and who knows when I'll get to these books. I plan to get to these books, but yeah, yeah, I have so many books. Like anyway, so now a bunch of Isaiah Berlin books. Isaiah Berlin is another man of letters. I don't know if he was a philosopher, but obviously he read philosophy. I mean, he might have been. I don't know. I need to do a little research on Isaiah Berlin. But I've read his books, some of his books, and I know politically he's a liberal. I'm not a liberal. By any stretch, I'm not a liberal. But I take pleasure in reading a lot of like what some liberals have to say, or not even just liberals, just people whose political, even if they're like on the right, or even if they're conservative, but they're not conservative in my way. I still can take a lot from like what they have to say. They still have a lot to teach us, and I'm not saying liberals are wrong about everything. I'm just saying like in general, like we're opposing, like or I'm on an opposing side of thinking about politics and like how to improve people's lives. But that said, like Isaiah Berlin has a lot of there's a lot of wealth there to yeah to mine. I don't know. Pardon the metaphors, the bad metaphors. So I have Isaiah Berlin, The Roots of Romanticism. Also, my interest is romanticism, these movements, these social, political, philosophical movements. But this is more of a social movement. Um, Isaiah Berlin, Three Critics of the Enlightenment, Vico, Hammond, and Herder. I think I have another version of this book somewhere. Isaiah Berlin, The Power of Ideas. Um, okay. Edited by Henry Hardy. I don't know who Henry Hardy is. I'm sure he was popular at one point. And they highlighted the fact that he edited it on the bottom of the book there. Isaiah Berlin Against the Current, Essays in the History of Ideas. The history of ideas is another one of my things, like one of my interests. I like the history of ideas. This used to be a thing in college. You could major, I think it was in the history of ideas. I think Lovejoy is a famous name in the history of ideas. Um, it's just interesting to me, like where ideas like are born. and how they transform and change and like how we get them today. Like today, like for example, like if you call yourself a liberal, you are nothing like the liberals of 100 years ago. The people who call themselves liberals 100 years ago are would like I don't know, they would vomit if you like told them what the definition of liberal is today. Like they do not it's not the same. It's not the same. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know why I'm harping on on politics today, but anyway, so Isaiah Berlin, I have this book. Another Isaiah Berlin book, The Crooked Timber of Humanity. A lot of good essays in this book. More Isaiah Berlin, The Power of Ideas. So this is my second book of The Power of Ideas. I also have here The Power of Ideas. Hard, and then soft. I don't know why I have two copies. I think I just forgot that I had it and I picked one up, hopefully on the cheap because, yeah, just a waste, I think. Um, Isaiah Berlin. I don't know if you can make this out. Russian thinkers. Russian thinkers. Oh, I think my camera just focused better. Unfocused. I don't know. Um, okay, I have that one. Um, then I have this book on Isaiah Berlin, In Search of Isaiah Berlin, a literary adventure, a wonderful book on the wonderful subject. Oh, what the heck? Another Henry Hardy. Who is this Henry Hardy person? Might have to find out. Then, okay, no, not leaving Isaiah Berlin. Isaiah Berlin, Studies and Ideas and Their History, The Sense of Reality. Uh, then my first Isaiah Berlin book, which I purchased with my own money when at the time I was making like $6 an hour, is The Proper Study of Mankind. Nice, nice. It's nice. Uh, I hope that wasn't too cringe. And then Isaiah Berlin, Freedom and Its Betrayal, Six Enemies of Human Liberty. Six Enemies of Human Liberty. Now, because he's Isaiah Berlin, because he's a liberal thinker, what liberal meant at his time, it doesn't mean what it means today, but generally, it's not going to be the thinkers you think it is, right? Uh, let's see. I hope it's all on the table of contents because I'm not about to. Okay, here we go. Here are the one, two, three, four, five, six. Helvetius. I know the name, but I don't know anything about Helvetius. Rousseau. I concur. Rousseau, an enemy of liberty. Fitch. I know the name, but I don't know enough about Fitch to say anything. Hegel. I concur, even though I don't know why. Anything negative said about Hegel, I concur. Saint Simon sounds like this is like why is it there? But okay, I don't know about Saint Simon, so I have to read up on what Isaiah Berlin says about Saint Simon and why he's an enemy of liberty. And finally, Meister, De Meister. Um, I know the name. I know all these names, but like yeah, I don't know enough to like understand why they're on the list, except for Rousseau. Really, except for Rousseau, I don't know why. So interesting stuff. Okay, that's it for the Berlin. I'm reaching way over here for the book I wasn't gonna put in there, but because I didn't want it on the shelf, I had it there because I didn't put it away. Um, it's my Herbert Spencer, The Man versus the State, economic stuff, political science stuff. Herbert Spencer's kind of like a philosopher too. I have his 2 volumes of his Ethics. And I have another one of his books whose title I forget. But this book, The Man versus the State, very good stuff, especially if you're into freedom and or a libertarian or even a conservative. And I think if you're even a progressive or a liberal, you should be reading these kinds of books. Um, but who am I to lecture you? Okay, I have on the shelf because I didn't put it anywhere else. This is the book I tend to use when I teach Spanish. I don't use it as a primary text. I use it just to like make sure I'm covering everything I want to cover. And I feel like their explanations work well. The only thing I don't like about these books is with most, and I don't know why they do it. Most Spanish books that I find have the Spanish from Spain, vos, and or vosotros instead of the ustedes, which we use in almost all South America uses ustedes instead of vosotros. Almost all Central America, or I want to say all Central America uses, or maybe not all, but anyway, most of it uses ustedes versus vosotros. But these books like McGraw-Hill here, I don't know why they insist on using the vosotros everywhere. So I tell my students, be careful. Just when you see the vos or vosotros, just scratch it out and put ustedes. Don't get confused. Don't learn the verb forms associated with that because you're wasting your time. Like, unless you're planning on speaking that Spanish, you're going to Spain, let's say, then learn it. Like, great. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying one is more ubiquitous. Is that fair? I think that's fair. Um, okay. I feel like I use ubiquitous kind of wrong, but it makes sense, right? Okay, Hindi. I'm learning Hindi. Namaste. Don't be impressed. That just means hello, and that's only one word, and everybody knows it. Even if you didn't study Hindi, you would know Namaste. आप कैसे हैं? मेरा नाम Carlos है. मेरा नाम Carlos हूँ. Um, anyway, I don't know much, like because I'm focusing on the Devanagari script. Like, yes, I'm like 2 weeks into Hindi, but my first week was all let's learn the alphabet, let's learn how to read. So yeah, my speaking will catch up. Um, like if you were just traveling there, I would get one of those like travel books, where you travel phrases, and you would learn more Hindi than I know. But I'm learning how to read the language, learning the grammar of the language, and then I will start to soon, very soon, I will start to learn some common phrases and stuff, so I can say more than namaste like an idiot. Okay, another book on Hindi. Pingu learns Hindi. I don't know if Pingu is just a name for this little penguin or Pingu means penguin in Hindi. I like to think Pingu means penguin in Hindi, but it's just a little cutesy penguin, and you learn along with him. It reminds me of remember the old what's it called? With the Word documents with the little paperclip dude. I forget what it's called. But anyway, I like that. Like so this anyway, I have this. Uh The myth of individualism, how social forces shape our lives. How a bunch of forces shape our lives, right? Like like if we believe Robert Greene, right? Like a bunch of things shape our lives. This has always been one of my like I don't know. I think it's one of my let's just call it a thing that drives me, that motivates me, and that has shaped, I think, like who I am. I've always dreaded, like loathed, like I can't tell you how much it bothers me to think that I am being manipulated, that I'm being almost like coerced or pushed or tricked into believing or behaving something when I don't have when I don't have all the relevant, let's say, facts presented to me, or or the way they're presented to me is in a manipulative manner. So, and I'm talking about anything. I'm not just talking about CNN and MSNBC or Fox News or any of these news programs. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about my like liberally biased teachers. I'm not even talking about my parents. I'm talking about forces that work on you that make that kind of like push you to thinking a certain thing, right? Or push you into believing something when when it's wrong, or just when you shouldn't be forming beliefs in the first place because you don't have enough information, or the information you've been given has been presented to you in this less than forthright way, let's say. And so I want to understand these things that affect, like if I have like if your ego pushes you to believe some things because it's your ego and you don't want to believe negative thoughts about yourself, or you don't want to believe like other people when they criticize you. I want to know, like, I want to know that. I want to know what's at work with me so that I can kind of like mitigate against mitigate against it and then form at least the most objective beliefs or that I can. Anyway, so this how social forces like you guys seen the Milgram experiment where people like inflict pain on strangers because there's like this guy in a white coat of authority next to them or and he's just telling them to do it and they do it, right? And so those kinds of experiments, those kinds of like studies are super interesting to me because I feel like it teaches me something about myself. Like I'm not one of those idiots who think I would never do that. No, idiot, that's the point. The point is that you would do that. The point is that this is probably how you would act. And if you walk away thinking I would never do that, like you just missed the point of the whole experiment. So, but if you accept that, if you're like, oh, okay, this is something I have to watch out for myself, well, then you can again mitigate against maybe doing that, but it's going to take a conscious effort. It's going to take an honest assessment, and it's going to take understanding what the experiment has to teach you so that you can make adjustments. And yeah, so that maybe you won't, when you're in that position, you won't inflict pain on people like that. Anyway, so interesting stuff. Fukuyama. Everybody knows Fukuyama. The End of History and The Last Man, super famous book. I didn't, it's not, I didn't pick this up a long time ago, but I haven't read it yet. It's still, and I have his other book, it's even more famous, which of course escapes me right now. Philosophy book, Plato's Republic. I don't know why people recommend this to new students of philosophy. This is not an easy book to get through. Like, I think it's just like because it's like if you study philosophy, if you go to college to study philosophy, most likely you will be assigned parts of this book, maybe the whole thing, but usually just parts of this book. But you're in a class, there are lectures, and you're a philosophy major, right? It's your major, right? It's your main interest, and hopefully you have some kind of ability. And so then, okay, Plato, but it's still not an easy go, right? You still have to like uh work to get like a good understanding of it. Like so, and to me, this is not like I wouldn't recommend this as a primary as a first reading for even new for new people into philosophy. The five dialogues, yes, but this one less so. Okay, I've been looking. I was so today. This is what prompted me to pull out these books because I've been looking for my Greek tragedies as part of my a series I'm doing on Nietzsche, reading Nietzsche, and part of it is reading a little bit about Greek mythology and also Greek tragedies. And so I have a bunch of books. I bet I don't know where the heck I put them. Anyway, this one here is Greek Tragedies, Volume 2, David Green and Richmond Lattimore. Richmond Lattimore is super famous as a translator. This is so we have Aeschylus, the libation bearers. We have Sophocles, Electra, Euripides, Iphigenia in Taurus, Euripides, Electra, and Euripides, the Trojan Women. The Trojan Women is definitely one of the books I'm going to read for that the quasi Nietzsche scholar project I'm doing. I'll have to find the other ones. To Live by Yu Hua. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, but anyway, I saw this movie. I haven't read this book. I saw the movie. The movie was great, very moving, touching, and as with a lot of Chinese films, it's very like poignant. It's very yeah, it's just like about like what really matters in life. Some of the like deepest feelings and moments and events in life. And the movie was if you haven't seen To Live, I recommend To Live. The movie, it's a Chinese movie. And then I have the book. And the final two books are this chunky copy here of Don Quixote or Don Quixote by Cervantes. Um, This is the Dover Thrift Edition, which I had heard good things about, so I picked it up. I have another book. I have a bigger hardcover book, which is the one I read. But this one is translated by Tobias Smollett. Tobias Smollett. No relation to this is MAGA country. Um, anyway, I heard good things about this translation, and I looked at the first page, and yeah, I like it, but it's only the first page, so I can't really say. Um, and then I have another Don Quixote Cervantes. This is the Penguins Classic Edition, and this translator is who is the translator? I already forget. It's been so long. This is by John Rutherford. Um, okay, yeah. So I have this book. So let me see. Let me see if like this. I with poetry books when there's different translations, I just read a couple of poems and I see which ones like I tend to like better. Um, let's see the opening page for because that's where like you can almost already tell from the beginning what the translation is going to be like. Um, can I get into page one? Okay. Let me read you a little bit. This is the Rutherford translation. Idle reader, I don't have to swear any oaths to persuade you that I should like this book, since it is the son of my brain, to be the most beautiful, elegant, and intelligent book imaginable. But I couldn't go against the order of nature, according to which like gives like to like. And to what can my barren and ill-cultivated mind give birth, except except the history of a dry, shriveled child, whimsical and full of extravagant fancies that nobody else has ever imagined? A child born, after all, in prison, where every discomfort has its seat and every dismal sound its habitation? That was a question. I misread it. Tranquility, peaceful surroundings, the pleasures of the countryside and the serenity of the skies, the murmuring of the springs and the quietude of the spirit. These are the things that encourage even the most barren muses to become fertile and bring forth a progeny to fill the world with wonder and delight. That's from the prologue. Okay. Uh, maybe I should have read the actual first chapter instead of the prologue, but okay, I read it. Let's see the prologue on this one. Does this have a prologue? It should have a prologue. Um, one, of course, this has to happen while I'm on. Here we go. Idle reader, without an oath, thou mayest believe that I wish this book, as the child of my understanding, were the most beautiful, sprightly, and discreet production that ever was conceived. But it was not in my power to contravene the order of nature, in consequence of which every creature procreates its own resemblance. What therefore could be engendered in my barren, ill-cultivated genius but a dry, meager offspring, wayward, capricious, and full of whimsical notions peculiar to his own imagination, as if produced in a prison, which is the feed of inconvenience and the habitation of every dismal sound? Quiet, solitude, pleasant fields, serene weather, purling streams, and tranquillity of mind contribute so much to the fecundity even of the most barren genius, that it will bring forth productions so fair as to awaken the admiration and delight of mankind. That's nice, right? That's really nice writing. I like this. I like this. This one is a little different. This one hits a little different. But I can see but this one like it has its virtues, right? Like when I read it, I liked what I was reading, and it was clear to me, right? And the turns of phrase or the expressions, I think they worked, right? And for like the tone they were setting, the speed at which they were delivering their messages, or he was delivering his message. But this is also very nice, right? So yeah, just from that little one paragraph, I would probably want to read this one first, unless you're thinking maybe you don't like if you read this one first, you're not going to want to read the other one because you don't think it's as good. So why would you invest the time, especially since like chunkiness here? Anyway, both good, both good. So yeah, uh, And if you've read Cervantes already, if you know Don Quixote already, obviously, like you don't need I don't need to speak on his behalf, right? Okay, but the translations, I don't know who I read now. Like who's my original translator in the version I read? I'll have to find the book. I don't know. I don't think I'll find the book. I don't know if I can dig it up. I don't know where it is. It's probably my storage shed. All right, that's it. So those are the books. That's a bookshelf tour, so to speak, kinda pseudo-ish. Um, and yeah. All right, I'm out. Read some Cervantes.